It's a month since the Gauteng High Court ordered the Social Development Department to finalise funding agreements with NPOs that were successful in their applications and update those that were not. Organisations complained about a new funding model that had catastrophic effects for service delivery. Today, the Deputy Minister of Social Development will be engaging the NPO sector in Lenasia. Newzroom Afrika's Nqobile Madlala is now joining us. Nqobile, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. So just to get clarity on this, so this is only in relation to NPOs in Gauteng, right?
Yes, Aldrin, it is in fact starting with Gauteng. So this is the start of these engagements that the Deputy Minister is aiming to have. We know that in Lenasia there's about 15 NPOs that are expected to be coming to this engagement. You will of course understand that at the back of that discussion is the fact that we had that issue in Gauteng where the NPOs were struggling with funding, and quite a lot of them had even spoken about the fact that they had to close their doors mainly because they weren't sure if they're getting funding, or when they did, they didn't get enough, and others didn't even get it and they did not qualify. So that becomes a major issue for the province because there's quite a lot of NPOs that have been affected. I want to bring in now the Deputy Minister to speak to us. And Deputy, just perhaps to start off, we know that it's about 15 that are going to be here, but are they coming alone?
No. In fact, what we've done is, as you know, I've been invited by the ward councillor to come to Lenasia, and they wanted to congratulate and welcome me. And I told them, look, no, I want you to also invite the NGOs and invite the businessmen and the donors, because Lenasia is one of the most generous wards in the country. They donate millions of rands to good causes. And I was worried that why are there so many NPOs complaining that they got to shut down because there's no funding. I want the donors to hear that. So we bring together the donors and the NPOs, and so I've decided to hit the streets and to invite. We know we've got 6 branches in the department, and each one has got a Deputy Director General. So we invited the Deputy Director General to give us a comprehensive overview of what the 6 branches do. So also we have got community members here, we've got ward committee members here across political parties. So it's important for them to know what services the department are providing, because the clock is ticking. We have to eradicate poverty by 2030 in terms of the National Development Plan. So I only have 6 years. Myself as a minister, we only have 6 years to achieve that. And we hope to eradicate poverty before the end of our term. So that is at least one of the goals that will be achieved. It cannot be that people go to bed hungry at night. The President Ramaphosa, in his first State of the Nation address, mentioned that he wants every person to have one warm plate of food every day. My vision is for them to have 3 plates of food every day, but you can't have a vision without a plan. So in order to get a plan, we are now engaging with NPOs. We're going to the streets. I'm going to places like Kufumvaba, like Yakkel's Dance, like Kwakwa, all over the country, to the streets. I'm going to take my Deputy Director Generals to the streets to explain to the people what services they are supposed to get from my department.
And let's talk about those services. Of course, there were concern in those services in Gauteng, which led to some NGOs having to close, and even a court case that ended up in the Gauteng High Court. What are the concerns for you right now when it comes to NPOs where you have seen that they have been badly affected in this province?
Look, I know that the Premier has had a meeting with them. I want to sit down the Premier. We have a very good working relationship, and find out from him, how did we arrive at this situation? NPOs are the heart of achieving our mandate as a social development department. and the provinces need to play their role. Why has this province let the country down? And then I want to squeeze every rand I can get out of his budget and deploy it to NPOs. We know that there was a policy decision to divert funds from NPOs to CBOs. And that has to be re-looked at. Not that we're not going to also fund CBOs, but NPOs is more regulated. Unfortunately, most NPOs are non-compliant. We've got 300,000 NPOs in the country. Only one-third of them are compliant. They're supposed to submit their financial statements. They're supposed to submit their annual plans, what they've achieved. And we want the researchers to analyze that, to see how they contribute to the National Development Plan, to the national vision of government. We want to see how they're going to contribute to the family policy. After 30 years, South Africa now has a family policy. We want to share that family policy with NPOs and ask them how they can make fatherhood the center of the family.
And once we talk about fatherhood, there are NPOs that deal with things like drug use within the province. Are you concerned about anything along those lines when there's no money? And even in South Africa at large?
I was shocked to hear in the high-level presentation that was made that nearly all our drug rehabilitation centers have closed down. That cannot be. But I didn't have time to engage. We are now going to meet with the staff tomorrow, and then the minister is organizing for us to sit down, the Deputy Director General and his directors and his other colleagues, to find out what is happening from a day-to-day. How are you spending the money, and how can we spend it more effectively in order to achieve the mandate of the department. So we're dragging Deputy Director Generals to the streets.
Well, it is a good plan. Can we expect then this plan to extend all around South Africa, and how are you planning to do it in terms of the ground? Because I suppose all provinces will have certain issues that they basically fight on a daily basis that would be more in each province.
Look, I've identified at least 100 villages that we visited in the past, and when I saw the poverty, I'll give you an example of Nqobile, for example, in the Eastern Cape. That is a village where our resistance fighters came from. 75 of them were hanged just from that one village as resistance fighters. When I spoke to the mothers and grandmothers of these heroes, they told us when SASSA comes and visits us and it rains, they turn back and we have to wait another week for the money or when the rain stops. So that is the type of thing we want to hear. And the minister, is very keen that we start resolving these matters because, we're also responsible for SASSA, nearly 10 million grants. We need to look at that. There's a lot of inconvenience, but there's also been a lot of improvement. You already mentioned about the drugs. I'm very concerned about the children. We're concerned about the so-called juvenile delinquents. They shouldn't be in prison and how they are cared for. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I've been not overwhelmed, but it has been very challenging for me to realize what I got myself into. When the president asked me, when he gave me the phone call that everyone was waiting for, I got the phone call. And he told me, I want you to be a deputy minister. And then he said social development. And I said, why not deputy president? That's an easier job. He said, no, deputy minister social development. So this is I spoke to the Speaker of Parliament. He said, Hanif, you've got one of the most important jobs in the country. We need to eradicate poverty. We need to turn around the social dynamics in the country. So myself and the minister, we have some big challenges, and I've got a minister that is head of the Women's League, and I already told Minister I want all the women to throw their weight behind our department.
Of course, indeed. Thank you very much for speaking to us. That is the Deputy Minister in the Social Development. And Aldrin, what he's explaining to us is, of course, very key to the issues that the NPOs are currently facing. So we are going to hear from the NPOs as soon as he starts those engagements, but also the fact that he's brought in donors to be able to come as well to hear for themselves and potentially even pledge if they can. That is something positive, especially with what has been happening in Gauteng with regards to that money or that funding model where the NPOs have been unhappy with.